Hello, my name is Tanya, and I make efforts to explain physics in a way anybody could understand. And example, if you're a physicist, you know that energy cannot be destroyed. It just takes new form. It's kind of like when you take water and energy and you make electricity. But electricity can do all kinds of things. I'm not going to list them because you manifest things based on judgments. So if I'm expressing what I understand and what I know, and you judge that expression of what I understand and what I know, then I'm tested. Something would happen in my life that would show me how to speak it in a way where there was no hypocrisy. Now, you have logic. Logic is the law. Okay, so the law of nature is logic. The chaos comes from hypocrisy within logic. That's found every day, everywhere. You have a legal system. Say you have a man that's incarcerated for smoking marijuana 20 years ago, and he had to spend 4 years in jail for the amount of weed he had. Then you legalize marijuana. The universe has to balance things out because the universe is logic. It makes no exception. It is logic. So what happens is you have a bunch of guys that spent time in prison, and these private owners of these prisons are making money off of these people. So then what happens is through evolution, which is most people think we evolved from animals. The truth is we are an animal. We are a species. So just as easily as we evolve into becoming a human, which is not the ideal animal to be in a hostile reality, we are born as an animal that is supposed to be able to bring peace to all animals. Now, the thing is most people don't realize that when you die, you're reborn as you die. And you're reborn into the energy that you left behind. So say your passion in life was to save animals, right? You wanted to save animals, but you hated human beings. You hated human beings, and you didn't know that human beings become animals. And say there was this really awful guy and you were judging him and you were in your mind sentencing him to an experience so he would understand how he made other people feel. And it could be like you wished bad things on him, all of these things. Well, you might not know this, but he might be born to be one of the animals you take care of, and then all the bad things you wished on him would happen to that animal that you would end up taking care of. Then you would spiritually understand your energy and how it creates reality. Now, it's the same if you're biblical, if you're someone that lives by the Bible. Now, the Bible is very clear in laws. It says, don't do this, don't do that, don't blah, blah. You're born into the sins of your parents, right? So a lot of religious people don't believe in reincarnation. They believe in heaven and hell. So heaven and hell can be what some people call a multiverse, meaning it's your perceived perception of reality. Now, heaven and hell, as I understand, would be in your mind. You create what heaven or hell would be. You create what the worst, say you're very wealthy and you're beautiful and you have all of these things, and hell would be to not be wealthy and not be as you appear to others. That might be hell. To hell someone else, it might be something completely different. So say to a farmer, hell might be not having enough water for their crops, or not being able to sell all of their cattle because of disease or whatever. Firstly, animals are not different than humans in logic. Their physiological reality is different, but not their intention. My dog, I happen to know who she was in her past life. So my dog was two other beings, and now she's my dog. But because I know her past life through media, because she was a public person, then I would understand why she experiences the things she experiences, why her behaviors are the way they are. Also in relation to me. Now, in our past lives, we were related. So I had to experience her judgments of me, and she has to experience my judgments of her. And when we look around in the Bible, it says, keep your enemies close. That's because your enemies are your lessons, so to speak. It's to teach you that you too are the enemy. So if you believe in what people call karma, is cause and effect. And so duality would be the experience of that cause and effect. Say there is a mother and she passes away and she leaves behind children, and her children experience life occurrences based on her passing. Maybe she was a public figure and all of this stuff's written in the media about her, and those children have to endure that. Firstly, they're born to experience that based on their parenting before they became her child. Everyone is aligned with what they want, but that may not be what you expected it to be. It's kind of like when people mass produce things and then they start talking about global warming. Global warming comes from many things we're manifesting. When you have your air conditioner on, and if you have a window unit, the heat goes outside and the coolness comes inside. Eventually, there comes a time where the heat comes inside and the cool remains outside. If you live in an apartment building, you're very aware that if you live on the first floor, it's usually cooler than it is on the fifth floor or the highest floor. Or if it's been a relatively hot week and then all of a sudden it's really cold outside, but it'll still be hot in your building. This is called cause and effect. This is what we do to the universe comes back to us. So if you're someone and you're doing a lot of negative things to the universe, you'll notice a lot of physiological changes within your body. And this is, whom I was in my past lives. I was a well-known scientist and I was a well-known actress. Now, I became the actress based on the convoluted equations that were created with the math I created. So what happens is whatever I contribute to society, I pay for that energy over and over and over and over and over again. So in this lifetime, it's my responsibility to myself and to others to let them know that you create your own reality. You create it yourself. Everything you do is creating your reality. There is a professor named Thomas Hertog, and I've sent him my work. I sent Stephen Hawking. I said, Mr. Hawking, I am this person of interest that you've been writing about, and you guys, they built this great big computer. They spent millions of dollars building this computer, and in like 2008, it was ready to go. And once they turned that computer on, my life changed. I was put in a position of chaos. I went from being a mom with a home and 7 pets to, it was like I was a robot, and all of this weird stuff started happening and I didn't understand it. So I checked myself into the hospital. And when I did, Michael Jackson passed away. And I experienced all of this awareness. Like I could know things before they happened. I knew stuff. And some people call that a psychic. Now, I've experienced going to a psychic, and what I experienced was nothing like they were experiencing. I was having visions of things before they happened. So then I started, years before, I had purchased this VHS. It's back when VHS was still around, on the Big Bang Theory, I believe. It was a video about Stephen Hawking's findings. And I didn't know why I was purchasing it. I just did. I was in a toy store with my son. I believe it's a National Geographic store or something, and which I just listed a pair of National Geographic vans on my Poshmark. Now, everything I do is predicting something. The universe has a language. So everything you buy, everything you read, everything you consume, everything you believe, every lie you tell becomes your reality. Every song you sing, every movie you make, every actor becomes a person that has to live the parts they play. So be very mindful of the parts you play. I happen to have been a comedic actress that was highly sexualized. I was Marilyn Monroe. Now, a lot of people say I was Marilyn Monroe. Well, firstly, show me the math, and I probably will say, well, maybe I was. Maybe your math is more conclusive than mine. However, the social security numbers, the addresses, the dates, the colors, the times, the everything have to have their own logic. Marilyn Monroe's last movie, she was married to a man who was a lawyer, and she said she was lost on an island and she left behind 2 sons. And in one scene in the movie, she's trying on shoes and she goes, "Oh, I thought my foot was smaller." Now, she also posed in an ad campaign for March of Dimes with 2 girls that were receiving assistance from March of Dimes. And Marilyn Monroe got married at 16, so she would not be put in a foster home, an orphanage. She had been living in a foster home. She didn't want to go to an orphanage. So she married a man named Jim Doherty. Now, everything in science tells us that things shift slowly. So this is our intention. I'm going to show you how intention creates your reality. Intention can go into the past and predict the future. So that's what I'm going to show you how I do this. So I was Marilyn Monroe. Now, in this lifetime, I was born with a club foot. Marilyn Monroe was in the club. I was born with a club foot, and now my left foot is significantly smaller than my right foot because it was in a cast off and on for 7 years. Marilyn Monroe was cast in the 7-year itch. I don't know if you've ever had surgery, stitches start itching, and I had them on my left foot. And so for 7 years, my foot would itch. And then instead of me being the composed, beautiful starlet standing next to two young girls that one was wearing leg braces, I would be born with the club foot, and I would be the one wearing the corrective shoe and the casts. I wasn't cast in any films, even though in this life I was in films, but I was the extra. So things shift. You experience life from a different perspective. So then I had to experience life as an extra on a film, or the girl that dated the movie star but wasn't the movie star, which I have, or couldn't wait to grow old because I wanted my face to clear up instead of fearing my perfect complexion aging, because I didn't want it to be imperfect. And that's what happened with Marilyn. So you experience the opposite. You learn to appreciate things from a different perspective. I also became a housekeeper. I worked in a law firm. I've had many jobs because just like Marilyn didn't graduate and neither did I. However, Marilyn was an avid reader. And I also like listening to Audible books. And when I've worked, I was listening to a lot of lectures on theoretical physics or listening to books on physics, and I learned a great deal. And so much so that I was able to write Mr. Hawking, and I wrote him, and within 2 weeks, he had finished his theory with, I have proof. Now, I sent him the numbers that he was seeking. My son had passed away last year, so that helped conclude Thomas Hertog's theory and Stephen Hawking's theory. And Thomas Hertog is releasing his book on July 7th, 2022. Now, those numbers might not mean anything to you, but they do in this equation. I was born July 3rd, so you have 7, and then you have 3 2s, which makes the number 3. So that's my birthday. But then you have 2s. So this starts getting a little more complicated to explain, because then you go in reverse, which means you subtract, you divide, you do all of these different numbers, because all these numbers have to tell the story and it has to be conclusive. So in this life, verbally, I can show all of these things. Now, these aren't coincidences. This is alignment of our intention. So in this life, I married a guy named Jerry. But before I married Jerry, I dated this guy named Rick. And his roommate's name was Ken Doherty, and they were both officers in the military. Marilyn Monroe was married to an enlisted person, but this lifetime I married an officer. I ended up on Guam. And but I married a different guy named Jerry, who was a triathlete and loved to fish. So then I started noticing that the things that were happening to Marilyn were happening to me. The movie parts she played were my real life. And so I ended up with I divorced my husband. I ended up with someone from Guam who was a lawyer. And I also dated his brother, and their father was the senator, and their cousin and uncle were the governors, proceeding one after the other. And they came from a well-known political family that lived on in a compound on the island, just like Marilyn and JFK and his brother Bobby. So it was similar. I also attempted to take my life, and the person that I was involved with from Guam, he got on the plane and was going to leave me. He was going to leave me to die. I had just lost a baby. Now, at the time, it was his baby, and so I lost this baby. That baby was born to his wife. So the things that his wife said to me, she was prophesying what would happen to her child. And she called me in the hospital and she congratulated me on the death of my child, which is an awful thing to do. And as I did soul searching and I did all of these things, I thought, oh, I had to go back. And then I had to go back in time to Roe versus Wade. And there was a congratulatory win, right? People were congratulating, yay, you win for all of the deaths of these children. Now, the thing is when a child is aborted, that child is born to someone else. And it is usually born to someone that dislikes you very much. So what happens is you love that child. So you watch that child thrive, and you don't even realize that's the child you no longer have. And sometimes that child is born to your enemy. Now, the child that I lost was born to someone that disliked me. But I've grown to understand what keep your enemies close, love thy neighbor as you'd love yourself, and born into the sins of our parents. I've learned what all those things meant. I learned what duality, entanglement, the best way to describe in the simplest way in physics, you have string theory, the easiest way, and no one will explain it simpler than I will. String theory is like your soul, and your soul has many, 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 many lifetimes and physical realities. Energy evolves into matter. Matter is a physical experience. It's a physical reality. So you have energy that was the universe that evolved into matter. And each form of matter that evolves from intention creates a shift in reality. And so as long as people are writing physics and they're doing it inconclusively and incorrectly, there will be chaos. The second you pay for an education, the universe is saying, firstly, why are you charging for an education? Why aren't you all contributing to helping one another? But we don't do that, do we? That's called volunteer work or charity. But the truth is, those people, the conglomerates, the higher uppers, the thing is they come back and then they're the poor people. Like, if you dislike Donald Trump, right? A lot of people do. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I don't know Donald Trump. I don't like his ethics. I don't like his logic. But I also know that Donald Trump was Nikolai Tesla in his past life. Lots of people love driving Tesla cars. So what I can do is predict what will happen within Tesla based on what happens to Donald Trump. Now, Nikolai Tesla, when he passed away in debt. He was bankrupt. He owed money. So he was born to experience great wealth because people made a lot of money off of his work after he passed away. So you're born to get what you leave behind, but you're also born to experience the chaos of what you leave behind. So whatever they utilize with Nikolai Tesla's work, they could build a nuclear power plant that could cause suffering amongst people, then Donald Trump's health would experience the repercussions of all of that. Now, Donald Trump is dealing with legal woes right now, which means anyone associated with Tesla will deal with legal woes. Marilyn Monroe, when she passed away, she was being sued by the film company for not finishing her film, and she was being sued for $750,000. No, 800, I'm sorry, was it? Yeah, it was $750,000. When I purchased my house with my ex's money, I paid $799,000 for the house. And when I sold it, there was only $50,000 available. I sold the house for $699 and I owed $50,000, so there was $49,000 available. So that's how it works. I had to pay it back. Marilyn Monroe purchased her house and she passed away in it 6 months later. So I lived in my house for 9 years. My son passed away in the 9th month on the 22nd day. Now, all of these numbers show a conclusive equation on how the physiological reality of the universe works. Now, some people call the universe God, not understanding what God is. Now, God isn't, God appears through man, woman, dog, cat, cockroach, fly, flea, everything. God has been everything. So however you treated God when you had your reality is the same way God responds to your requests. So if you think a cockroach is an inconvenience and you need to condemn a building or kick people out or whatever, you have to go then and say, what does a cockroach contribute to society? A cockroach contributes a great deal to the soil. Then you go, what does man contribute to society? Well, man doesn't really contribute as much as an energy that works within its own ecosystem. But if we take away and we build, and then people are not caring or keeping organization, they're not doing their part within their ecosystem, then nature tries to do it for them. Because we're sitting there saying, oh, we're trying to help nature, we're trying to contribute, we're trying to do this. We're not. We have mass amounts of stuff. Now, before COVID, I painted a picture of a rhinoceros wearing a tie, talking to a lamb wearing a crown. And there was something coming out of the rhinoceros's mouth, and I posted it. It's on my Facebook, and it's dated before COVID. And as I was painting, I'm like, something's coming out of his mouth. It must be me, because my ex, his girlfriend, forwarded an email to me Christmas Day on 2015 where they were calling me a virus. And I lived in Corona at the time. So then I understand, okay, the coronavirus is involved, and our ethnicity also tells part of the story. Now, we're the ones that segregate everything. The universe does not see us as anything other than energy, intention, hypocrisy of logic, intention, all of these things. So the universe is seeing all of this. So then you have all these particles going around. Science, you'd call it a particle. And then if you really want to get technical, then you call it a neutron, a neuron, an atom, a cell. You would just start throwing all these words in there. But then those words get to be part of something bigger, because like my cell phone. So your cell phone would tell you that, oh, so all of the components that created my cell phone, that create chaos, that create hypocrisy, are now things that I'm typing to my friends, that we're manifesting this. Every time we're hypocritical, we manifest something else. And all of this energy is creating a shift in our universe's ecosystem. So to simplify, whom you might think you call God would be the universe. And what scientists call the multiverse would be the family members of the universe. So then you have a scientist who now says that Pluto is no longer part of the solar system. It is no longer acknowledged. That man is going to come back and become someone that is not acknowledged. He's no longer part of whatever system he is a part of. If we call everything in the sky, our solar system, our atmosphere, our planets, our stars, whatever you segregate them into being, that is the purest part of God, right? That's like his mind. So then you start judging his mind, and then you start judging one another. If you believe in law of attraction and you're manifesting, you have to look for the logic and say, what is it about this that's manifesting this logic? Then you have all of these authors writing these books, and these books are made from the physiological experience that is the universe. So if you tear down trees and you tear down things, or you make factories to recycle things, and that uses so much water in itself, just so everybody's ego can be stroked, then you're creating more chaos. So earlier I was like looking at stuff on the internet, and I'm like, I already know so much. Why do I need to look to see, to predict? If I'm going to waste energy, I'm going to teach something of logic. I'm not trying to instill fear in anyone. There's no agenda. It's just me, someone who wants to know myself. I want to be a better experience for the universe. And it's really challenging for me to try to do this on my own, because I don't have this support group that understands me or really wants to make an effort. Most people will say, well, what are your credentials? I'm like, what are yours? I communicate with the universe. Do you? Well, prove it. Didn't they do that with Jesus? That didn't work out so well. So I've been proving it over and over and over and over and over again for several years now. I paint live on social media, and the things that I say when I'm painting, they come true. And the thing is all I have to do is look at your social media, and I already know what your past might have been, what your family life was like, what's going to happen in your life. Then when I read what's on the news and I see what people are advocating for and what they're not advocating for, and I think, oh my God, there's so much hypocrisy. I can predict earthquakes, fires. I predicted COVID. Well, what I predicted was, what I said in the video was, the rich are going to feel poor and the poor are going to feel rich. And that's what happened. The rich couldn't travel as much. The rich couldn't go shopping on Rodeo Drive or wherever and show it off all the time. They couldn't show off because then it was humiliating for them to show off on social media. So then they wanted to appear normal, right? Everybody wants to be normal during a crisis. Oh, look at me. I can't order my whatever. I'm just like you. I had to clean my own dishes. It was terrible. And you know what? The universe is paying attention, because then all of a sudden you're talking down to people without even realizing it. They don't even realize they're talking down to people. I watched an episode of The Real Housewives and they were on vacation and they're like, contact someone to clean this up. I'm like, you got what, 5, 6 grown-ass women. You don't have your kids. You don't have your husbands. Wash your own damn dishes. Like, what the hell? Do you realize all the bad shit that's coming your way now? And, you know, then they're like, oh, we got COVID. I'm like, what are you expecting? Like, you cannot talk down to the woman that has less, and you're advocating for rights. And you can't even do your own dishes while a group of you are on vacation. You couldn't pick up towels and wash your own dishes. I don't understand that. But that manifests food issues in their family. That manifests some kind of negative something in their family. Whatever you focus on will be taken away from you until you focus on what's real, what's relevant, and the hypocrisy of what you focus on. So all of this stuff, I see all of these people trying to charge hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn about how the universe, the laws of attraction, how to have a better life. I teach you that for free. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to make a living. So I started a Poshmark with recycled clothes that I buy from Goodwill. And the truth is, and I tried cleaning for other agencies, but I'm finding the cause and effect in all of it. And I'm paying back for the energy I put out there. Now, Marilyn Monroe also married a guy named Joe DiMaggio. I had a boyfriend named Joe who was a model. Joe DiMaggio was not a model, but Marilyn Monroe is the beautiful one. In mine and Joe's relationship, Joe was the one who was considered more beautiful than me. And Joe had a brother named Pat who played professional baseball, who was married to a girl named Marilyn. And Marilyn Monroe had a best friend named Pat. So all of these things shift. Everything shifts in each life. So then I can go by my addresses. And Marilyn Monroe and I lived on the same street. When she was married, she lived on one end of the street. And when I wasn't married, I lived on the other end of the street with my son. Now that meant Marilyn had to have lost a son. And so then in this life, I actually got to be a mom. And so this life, I got to be a mom. I'm a grandma. I know who my children were in their past lives, who my grandchildren. I haven't figured out who my newest grandchild was. I'm working on the math. But then I can predict things that will happen in their lives based on who they were in their past lives and what they've left behind. Now, the thing is some people think that if you're born, like Marilyn Monroe, her mother was born in Mexico, which it's like being born in America. You can be born in Mexico and not be Hispanic, but you are Mexican if you're a Mexican citizen. So it's just like you can be another ethnicity and be born in America and still be American. So Marilyn Monroe, there was speculation. People were like, is she Mexican? Well, the thing is in this life, I was born to a mother who and father who were 21. And my dad is white with blue eyes, and my mom is Hispanic, and but was not born in Mexico. And so her family, she grew up in Colorado, and they had their honeymoon in Niagara, at Niagara Falls. So then the movie I did in Niagara, all of this would follow me. And my mom spent a lot of time in Lake Tahoe and Reno. The movie I did Nevada, all of these things became my reality. So I'm like learning how a particle works as I understand my hypocrisy, my lack of logic throughout my life, but everyone else also. But I'm not trying to compare until people try to compare me. Now, I've had this problem with these physicists. Now, when Stephen Hawking passed away, I was working at a place called the Dillon, and the Dillon is on Santa Monica Boulevard, and the address is 7111. That's my birthday, 7-3. It's not a coincidence that Thomas Hertog did this. I send Thomas Hertog my notes all the time. And when I spoke to him, he hung up on me. He was very, very nervous. He was actually trembling on the other end of the phone, and hung up. And I guess I would hang up too if I hadn't concluded my theory and my theory contacted me. So I don't know how my intention is different. I kept telling him, I wouldn't write this book if I were you. Don't write this book. You're just creating chaos for yourself. When Stephen Hawking wrote that he had proof, he never mentioned me. He didn't mention me because he wanted to have that for himself. And he passed away 2 weeks later on Albert Einstein's birthday. Now, that's not a coincidence. That's called alignment. That's called aligning your intention. And intention creates reality. It's what you want, why you want it. So you might ask the world, someone might say in their past life, I want to be a famous comedian. So this life, they have to go through this horrible experience to become famous and then pass away or deal with more horrible experiences. Why? Because their job is based on humbling those through humor. And so what happens, that's called judge not lest ye be judged. So how you make someone else feel is how you'll end up feeling. So if you laugh at someone, say you're mocking someone's child, your child will end up, the children that are born to you are born to teach you how it feels as a parent to have someone mock your child. So then someone would mock your children. And the second you go after that child, if you get it back, you're sentencing your punishment based on what you think someone else deserves. Say you don't know that your dad did something awful in his past life, and you don't know this. And so there's some guy who used to be, or some woman, it could be a woman, or some guy who used to be your dad's mom who had passed away. And this person that taught your dad, that did this bad thing in their past life, all of a sudden you're judging them and you're like, they deserve to drop dead. And then all of a sudden your dad drops dead. And you're like, why? Because you condemn the punishment. That's why the Bible says, judge not, lest ye be judged. That is the system of reality we live in. So don't judge anyone. You can try to understand. You can try to seek the logic. Then try to seek in your own self where you've lied, where you've manipulated, where you've done something that could create it. Have you ever called a cable company? This has happened to many people, where you didn't pay your cable bill because they're really high. You didn't pay your cable bill, and all of a sudden it gets shut off, and then you're on the phone. I want you to blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I'm sorry, if you pay X amount, then we can turn it back on. And you're like, ah. So say instead of paying your cable bill, you went to a football game or a baseball game or whatever you did. You bought tickets to go see something, and then you didn't pay your cable bill because you usually watch sports on TV, but because you actually got to go to a game, you forgot to pay your bill, blah, blah, blah. All of this stuff aligns. Then you're on the phone demanding your stuff get turned back on. Then you pay them what they ask. However long they had to wait to be paid, you'll be out that time. You won't watch TV. You won't have time to watch TV. Your cable will go out even though you've paid the bill. You'll be wasting time on the phone. You have to exchange that energy. Now, if you're pleasant, you let things go, then pleasant things happen, and then someone else lets something go. So whatever you expect someone to pay, you pay. Prison systems are full of people that were lawyers, doctors, judges, people that were put in a position to do something that would help someone have a better life. Instead, their own personal egos and lack of understanding of their position. Meaning, if you have a judge and the first thing he does is say, put your hand, do you swear to tell the truth, so help you God, blah, blah, blah. In the Bible, it says not to sue anyone. So firstly, the judge knows nothing about the Bible and nothing about the laws of nature. So you can't put a man in prison for something you don't yourself understand. But they do it all the time. And then when the judge passes, he comes back and he has to face the crimes that he's put someone behind bars for. It could be that he isn't able to leave the house for some physical health reason. It could be that he's not able to see or understand. He could come back with some kind of physical disability, or he himself will end up in prison. It depends on why he convicts each person in the way he does, or she convicts each person in the way they do. And so that's why our prison systems are so full. It's not because of what people are doing. It's because of the hypocrisy within the system, the justice system. So if you want a crime-free world, you need to take lessons in logic. I'm happy to teach you. I get excited to teach people how to use logic. I get really excited about people actually understanding logic. What bothers me is that people are so ignorant when they claim and they accept payment for being so smart. I've had a lot of people pay me for knowledge. That was very helpful to them. But most often I would say, pay what you can afford, and don't not pay your cell phone bill for this advice. Don't not pay a debt for this. I want to help, but I also have to make a living, right? And the thing is if I go to work at a restaurant or somewhere that I'm not really skilled at, that I don't believe in all the time. See, I'm a hypocrite myself. I don't always eat meat because I know that when I do eat meat, my personality changes. And what happens is when you take a life and then you sell it to be consumed, you align your own life to be sold to be consumed. Now, I try to be as ethical as I can emotionally be at most moments. And I try to be aware of the hypocrisy, the contradictions, and all of the things that I may or may not be to someone else. So I've made it clear that when I die and become an animal, I want to be aligned with the souls that would appreciate what I'm contributing in their life. It could mean that I end up somewhere least expected, and this lion or some animal or some human that's actually going to do some remarkable things, and I was scheduled to die anyway, that I would die and be like their last meal that would give them the energy to keep going. It could be being a peanut or an almond even to a bird that needs to feed their children, and they need the energy to do so. It could be anything. So, and this is learning about gratitude and what gratitude really means, because gratitude means to appreciate the experience of what you're receiving. Meaning, if you're getting a gift, think about, and someone gives you food. If it's a salad, think about the farmers, the land, the soil, the rain, all of the time and energy beyond what the restaurant is contributing. What everything is contributed to that meal, that's gratitude. Now, if you're ungrateful and you complain to the manager, this food sucks, I want my money back, blah, 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 you're going to be sweating. You're going to get stuck in the rain. You're going to get, your shoes are going to get mud. All of these things that experienced your energy, you're also experiencing their energy, their resentment, their frustration. Maybe they didn't get paid. Maybe all of these things went into play, and the restaurant didn't care where the produce came from. They didn't care that the workers weren't treated well. They didn't care about the soil. They didn't care they're wasting water in the back. All of these things contribute to that one moment that you're aligned to experience. Everything that happens to us is intentional. It's based on our own intention in our past lives, our present lives, and our futures. So what you ask the universe for, the universe will give you. You might not get it in this lifetime, but you will receive it. And the thing is you may wish that you hadn't wished for that. Now, there are a lot of things that you can do to have a happy life. And one of them is to understand that this isn't your only life. So you are actually creating your future life as you live this life. So if you treat people badly, say you have a housekeeper and you're like, oh, I'm rich and I'm only going to pay my housekeeper $30 an hour. $30 an hour isn't very much. when you're living in a mansion and you want blah, blah, blah. But say you're a hardworking mom and you're only making $50 an hour, but you're spending $30 an hour on childcare. So then you're only making $20 an hour, and the person taking care of your children is making more than you. That's when things start shifting, because the universe is like, but someone offered you a $20 an hour stay-at-home job, but you didn't want to be with your kids. You're like, fuck, no, I don't want to be with my kids all day. That's when the universe starts shifting things and then puts you in a position where you have to be with your kids. And a lot of that happened during the pandemic. The universe aligns with our intention the best possible way for us to learn who we really are. And so as I learn who I am, I don't always like myself. I don't always like me. But I trust me. And if the same things happen to me that I do against others or whatever, I'm aware that I contributed to that energy. So there's really no one to blame. However, what I've learned is you can be your best friend and your biggest problem at the same time. And as I look around my place, I sell things on Poshmark, so I need to finish organizing and finish shipping out my shipments. But even saying that, there's somebody out there whose money is being tied up by Poshmark going, I need to get my item now. Like, I need it now. I'm like, there's nothing I'm shipping out that's going to change anybody's life. Nothing. I'm not shipping out any kind of health or food or anything. So the logic is we are an entitled energy. And there are things that I'm waiting for. But there is nothing coming to me that will change my life. But it will change my experience of feeling like I don't deserve what other people have. And for 3 years now, 4 years now, almost 4 years, I bought my stuff secondhand. I bought my sheets, my towels. I bought everything secondhand. And I'm someone that used to really love to buy bedding. That was my thing. I could wear the same jeans and t-shirts all the time and flip-flops and everything, and I was okay. But to sleep is something that I'm grateful for, especially if I've cleaned somebody's house and I've gotten it in order for them and made their bed or washed their bedding and stuff. I too want to go home and take a bath and sleep peacefully. And I want to clean my own house, and I want to do those things for myself and my family. But I only have so much energy. But if I expend all of my energy to other people to make money, to buy things, to sell secondhand, then I'm either creating chaos for myself or balance for someone else. Maybe I'm selling something at a price point, and maybe they're having always wanted something that I'm selling. right? It could be a pair of shoes that their friend paid $200 for, and I sold the same pair of shoes for $20. And then they can afford that price point, but they couldn't have afforded the 200 because maybe they're the practical friend, or maybe they just really didn't have it, but they always wanted it. And maybe that's the last $20. I don't always know that stuff, but I know that when I sell something, it's going to the person it was meant to go to. And I've come to understand life in a very sincere way. Like, I'm not always the nicest person to energy, but I'm certainly not the most thoughtless person to energy. And physics is much easier to understand than a class in physics eludes. And if you're someone that did study physics, this video should make things a little simpler for you to understand everyday life. Unless you're one of those people that wants the equation written out, in which case you do it. You're so smart. You're smarter than me. You should do it. Academically, most people are more academically inclined than myself. I don't know how to memorize stuff that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I can see these physicists post all of this stuff and the words they use and the numbers they use and stuff, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And the fact that they want us, they're like, oh, there are too many people on Earth, we need to go somewhere, we need to go live in space. I'm like, why on earth would you want to do that to what did God ever do to us? Like, what did the universe ever do to us? Nothing. We do everything to the universe. The universe, it's as a collective, we are the physiological reality of the universe. So your thoughts, your actions, your hypocrisy create the weather, they create the energy, they create the media, everything. So the only way I can understand is to, Stephen Hawking said there's this person, and all these physicists are like, there's this person that's going to tell us all these stories, that's going to explain how the universe works. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to do that. However, they're all trying to write their books really quick before people find out that I'm trying to do that. And that's ego. That's them trying to make as much money as they can because they know the gig is up. It's not going to be the way it used to be. Things will be very different. Now, I know that I will pass and I'll be reborn, and I'll be reborn into a much different situation, and I will have much more financial power than I do in this lifetime. But I do have a lot of power because the poor people that were working for nothing got to collect unemployment. And what people don't understand is some of the people that didn't get their unemployment or whatever, they were the people that made the laws in other lives. They were the legislation, or they were the people working in the businesses, and they treated people that are like they are now very badly, so then they were born to experience that bad treatment. A lot of people that have nothing now had everything in past lives. They were the super wealthy. And so in this lifetime, I wasn't super wealthy, but my ex-boyfriend paid for things. Now, Marilyn Monroe bragged that she didn't have to have a man to pay for everything. She was doing it, but yet she got her money by being sexually appealing to men and women, right? So in this lifetime, I was a mistress and my boyfriend paid for everything. So I had to experience, Marilyn Monroe was unfaithful to her husband. Therefore, I had to experience all of that from a different perspective. And so, and right now I'm 58 years old. And Marilyn Monroe passed away at 36. And I was born in 1963. And all of the numbers in her life, right down to JFK, Jackie Kennedy, everything, they conclude the equation with my life. Now, I'm writing the theory of reality, only I don't want to write a book. I just want to tell you how it works. And I don't need to write a book. I don't need to put something into print that isn't going to change anyone's life, that these videos themselves can't. And since I'm already making this video, there's no reason to put something into a book. I don't need to say author Tanya blah blah blah. I don't need to say that. There was a time where I wanted that. There was a time when I wanted to win the Nobel Prize. There was a time. I don't need those things. I really just want peace. I want to be able to live in a home and have a yard and plant a garden and experience reality in a very simple way. However, I don't want to diminish your guys' dreams or anything, but there are more logical ways to find peace than to create more chaos in order to appreciate what you did have. Because I no longer have my house and I no longer have my son. And because I didn't appreciate what I had, I kept wanting more. And so now I have so much less that what I do have seems like too much. But these things that I'm reselling, they allow me to think. They allow me to appreciate hard work that people have done. The hard work I have to do to keep everything organized and packaged and shipped. And in the grand scheme of things, if I went and worked somewhere for long hours, I would make more money. But then I don't get to be at home, with my pets or just to appreciate what I have, which is the ability to acknowledge my hypocrisy and understand myself, self-reflection. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I could probably use a Tylenol right now because my back hurts, but I know that I'm supposed to pay for that energy. I need to go to the dentist. I had waited 6 months for my dental insurance to go into effect, and it went into effect recently on the 4th, I think. And I still haven't used it, and I need to. But at the same time, I understand that when I do go to the dentist and they do give me Novocaine and all of those things I'll experience will create a shift in reality. And that whomever invented sugar, processed sugar, these things, they continue. So what you invent, it keeps manifesting. Sugar is the number one contributing factor in death around the world. Sugar. Heart disease, diabetes, psychological disorders, all kinds of different effects on humanity. And what's the number one thing we offer someone as a gift on their birthday? Here, have some cake. Here, let's go have ice cream. Let's go do this. We reward small children with sugar. I've done it myself. And we don't understand that there's a great deal of hypocrisy there. And so these things go unnoticed. And but that's hypocrisy. That's hypocrisy. And so I would like to have the ability to speak to large groups of people and ask them how they can best answer the questions of logic and hypocrisy and cause and effect. I would like to speak amongst a lot of physicists and ask them to simplify it more simply than I have, how it would all work. And at the very least, be a muse who can inspire people to think outside of what they know. So anyway, I'm going to conclude this video. I spoke for an hour and 12 minutes. I explained physics. If you'd like the equation, I'm happy to show you. See you later. And I don't know how to turn this off.